Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Mata.
Om Sadashiva Samarambha
Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya
Acharya
Paryantam
Guru Parampara.
Om Sahana Bhavatu
Bhavatu
Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma
Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Vidvishavahai
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti.
Okay, so we had completed up to verse number 22 of chapter 7. So we will look at verse number 23. We will chant Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Shri
Bhagavanuvacha
Antavattu Phalam Tesham
Antavattu
Phalam
phalam
tesham
Tadbhavatyalpamedhasam
Tadbhavatya
alpamedhasham
alpamedhasam
Devan Devayajo Yanti
Devan
Devan
Devayajo
Devayajo
Yanti
Yanti
Madbhakta Yanti Mamapi.
Madbhakta Yanti Mamati.
Okay, so we talked about Sakama Bhakti, and Krishna said that through Sakama Bhakti means what? Bhakti for the purpose of having some benefit to myself. So either Artharthi or Artha or Arthati. Two bhaktas are there, one for emergencies, one for material benefits, not having an emergency, but both of them basically want material benefits for themselves, their families, whatever. So the Shastric view is that there is really no problem if you have Sakama Bhakti, if you want material benefits, if you want sense pleasures, there is no problem. You can worship Ishvara and you will still be a Bhakta. But one should understand, at least a serious student of Shastra should understand that this has got certain limitations. Sakama Bhakti, materialistic Bhakti, has got certain limitations. What is that? The first one is that the result is not guaranteed. The result of Sakama Bhakti is not guaranteed because Veda itself, the Karma Kanda of the Veda deals largely with Sakama Bhakti, and there it is very clearly understood that there are certain niyamas, rules and regulations to be followed, and wherever you are worshipping for material benefits, all those rules need to be very strictly followed. For example, there is the rule that the person has to do nitya naimittika karmas very regularly. And Sakama Bhakti, it is said there, can be successful. Your puja for any other benefit, material benefits, which is Sakama Bhakti, can be successful only if the worshipper, the sadhaka, is following rules like nitya naimittika karmas. So Sandhya Vandanam, etc., Agnihotram, etc., you have to regularly follow. And if you don't, if there's a violation of nitya naimittika karma, then that affects the success of the Sakama Bhakti also. And like this, there's only one of the rules. There are so many rules, and any violation will result in the benefits of that bhakti being diluted or not happening at all. Therefore, that is the first negative point, that there is a doubt about the definiteness, about the guarantee that Sakama Bhakti will give you fruits. And there's another point, is that once your Sakama Bhakti, Sakama Puja has been successful, and therefore you asked for something and you got that, then what happens? Of course, Krishna says elsewhere also that I will make this more, make his faith more stronger. But when you make the faith more stronger, it creates an addiction, right? Because I got one benefit out of my bhakti, let me get another one. So one by one, you will get involved in only Sakama Puja. The first success you want something else, after that you want something else. And therefore, sooner or later, all the worship which you do, your entire life will be dedicated to Sakama Puja also. Therefore, it is like gambling or like drinking. It is addictive in nature, Sakama Puja, right? And of course, there is one more very important point, is that the more powerful, we discussed this earlier also, the more powerful your Sakama Bhakti becomes, the weaker your Nishkama Bhakti becomes. It becomes sidelined. And therefore, people who are involved in so much of Sakama Bhakti, you will find that for them, Nishkama Bhakti is not there at all. That Sakama Bhakti itself becomes a pratibandha, an obstacle for Nishkama Bhakti. And when there is no Nishkama Bhakti, where is the question of Chitta Shuddhi? And when there is no Chitta Shuddhi, where is the question of coming to Shravanam at all? Where is the question of coming to Shravanam? Where is the question of Mananam? Where is the question of Nididhyasanam? Where is the question of Moksha? So Sakama Bhakti is, though it is glorified in the Veda, remember it is not being glorified as an end in itself. Very many people take the Karma Kanda as the very end, but it is not. The entire focus, Tatparyam of Veda is what? Veda taken as a whole is what? Moksha. And therefore, Sakama Bhakti, the entire Karma Kanda of the Veda is a sadhana, is an objective only for the purpose of gaining Chitta Shuddhi. And once Chitta Shuddhi has been got, then you need to move to Jnanam. And Chitta Shuddhi you cannot get with pure Sakama Bhakti. I mean, you can, like if you, it's not that no punyam is generated, right? But the punyam is on the sankalpa, we know. And the stronger your sankalpa is for self-benefit, punyam will be generated, but weaker. And therefore, Sakama Bhakti also generates punyam, but it is very weak. And therefore, the Chitta Shuddhi which you get is not sufficient for you to come to Jnanam. Therefore, from Sakama Bhakti, one needs to move to Nishkama Bhakti. And from Nishkama Bhakti, one gets Chitta Shuddhi, because Nishkama is no sankalpa is there for your self-benefit. And therefore, the entire punyam is utilized for Chitta Shuddhi. And then once Chitta Shuddhi is there, then Jnanam is there. Once Jnanam is there, Moksha is there. And therefore, we summarize the three defects of karma as tridosha, karma tridosha. What are they? We have seen them before. The first one is dukkha mishritatvam. That every worldly objective which you have is mixed with equal amount of pain also. Pain and pleasure is there. What is the pain? Pain in acquisition, pain in maintenance, and pain on losing. So there are three pains, and that's why dukkha mishritatvam. Why mishri? Because worldly objectives do give you pleasure. Otherwise, you would not do them. If there was no pleasure in the worldly objectives, nobody would follow that. But since they give you pleasure, can you please put off your mic, somebody who's talking? Yeah, okay. Let me just. All right. So, dukkha mishritatvam, because unless there is pleasure in attaining an objective, you wouldn't make the effort. And once you have made the effort, then unfortunately, pleasure you will get, of course, but it's mixed with pain. And that pain is because there is an effort involved in acquiring that object of your desire. There's a pleasure involved in maintaining the objective of desire. And finally, all objects of desire are temporary, so they will go away. And there is a pleasure involved, pain involved, not pleasure, pain involved. Pain involved in acquiring, pain involved in maintaining, pain involved in losing it also. So, ajane dukkham, rakshane dukkham, nashaha dukkham. Three things are there. Ajanam, the acquisition. Rakshanam, the maintenance. Nashaha, the loss. This is called dukkha mishritatvam. Every object which you acquire in this world, every desire which you have is a mixture of pleasure and pain. That is the first one, the first dosha, the first defect. The second defect of Sakama Bhakti is that every accomplishment of yours, every object that you achieve, it is always finite in nature, right? For example, let us say, you are looking for a good car, so you buy a car. Now, will you be completely satisfied with that? No, because once the car is slightly older, or if your neighbor gets a better car, you will think of the next better version of the car. So some people have got better cars than I have. Why should I not get? So comparison comes in, and therefore every accomplishment, atripti means non-satisfaction. So every accomplishment is accompanied with non-satisfaction because there is something always better than that. And the moment you have comparison, you have jealousy and so on. That is why in the Katha Upanishad, it is said, Vittena na tarpanayo manusyaha. No human being will be satisfied whatever amount of wealth he gets. Right? So such a person will first be poor without money because he has no money, and therefore he is dissatisfied. Then he has lots of money, but he compares himself with those who are better, therefore he is still poor. Right? You can be said to be rich when the money that you have satisfies you, and that is never there. That is why Nachiketa says, Natarpanayo Anusya Vittena. A man will never be satisfied. Why is this so? Because accomplishments are always finite. What is the difference between finite and infinite? It is always infinite. So if you have 100 rupees, then the distance you have to travel before you get infinite number of rupees is infinity. If you have 1,000 crore of rupees, the distance you have to travel to infinity is again infinite. The distance between finite and infinite does not depend upon the quantity of the finite. It is always the infinite which is far away, which is infinitely far away. And therefore, in these terms, you will always be apurnaha. As long as comparison is there, you will never be satisfied. You will always be apurna. So the first one is what? The first one is that there is a mixture of pleasure and pain. The second one is that you are never satisfied. Two defects. What is the third one? Once you are used to a particular desire being satisfied, that particular object desire is there with you, then begins ragaha. So there is attachment, a binding. So before you got those things, you were okay. You had a decent life. Now that you have got those things, you have addicted to them, and you cannot imagine a life without that in your life. In your AC, for example. When I was a kid, we had slept through the hottest of summers with only a fan. But now you have an AC. And the very thought of electricity failing or the AC not functioning, it's very unhappy thought. So you get addicted to things. All this is a result of what? Sakama Bhakti. And therefore, Krishna is pointing out here that the devotion which is devoted to satisfying your desires, which is what is Sakama Bhakti, will ensure that there is no spiritual progress at all. It will ensure that you will be perpetually in samsara. Earlier, without money, you were in uncomfortable samsara. With money, you will be very comfortably, but you will still be in samsara. From the material angle, everything is there. Money is there, fame is there, wealth is there, car is there, house is there, AC is there. But from the spiritual angle, there is spiritual stagnation. It's a stagnation, right? We are not saying there is a spiritual fall. And that idea is important. Why is there no spiritual fall? Because Sakama Bhakti is not violation of dharma. It is there in your dharmic books, but there is something further which you have not got to. And therefore, there is no violation, there is no fall in your spiritual status, but there is no spiritual progress either. So he says Tesham. If you look at the word Tesham, these Sakama Bhaktas, what is there for them? Alpa Medhasam. Alpa Medhasam means they are people with Alpa Medaha. Medaha is the power of discrimination. Alpa is small. So they are unintelligent people. They are indiscriminate people. Why? Because they are choosing the finite goal when they could have chosen infinite moksha. Instead of asking for moksha from the Lord, they're asking for material results. They will get the results, of course, money, name, position. What is this problem with that? He says, Antavat. They all have an end. They are all in the nature of transient. They will all be exhausted. And therefore, what is being said here, that when you approach Ishvara, you can ask for either press or you can ask for shreyas. You can ask for material things, which is press, or you can ask for the moksha, which is shreyas. Unfortunately, most of us choose the material things because it is much more attractive. And therefore, and afterwards we'll blame Ishvara, saying that I have not got such a big bhakta, but I have not got any peace of mind. And therefore, look at the second line. Devan Devayajo Yanti. Devayajaha Devayajaha, the one who worships the finite devatas. So Deva here is finite. Devayajaha, the one who worships finite devatas. What do they get? Devan Yanti. They will get that particular devata, which means the finite devata can give you only finite results. The worshippers of finite devatas will get only finite results. Worshippers of finite devata is who? Sakama Bhakta. The Sakama Bhakta will get only finite results. Remember that according to Shastram, all the devas are nothing but jivas who have got the role of the position of jiva because of their extra punya karma. Even then, though they have that, because of the fact that they have got the role because of their karma, however good the karma is, he may be normal devata, he may be Yamaraja, he may be Lord Brahmaji himself, but remember that all of them have got a beginning and an end because punya karma has a limited stock. When the stock is over, the karma will also be over and that role will also go away. So all devas, deva remember is a role. All devas have a beginning and an end. On the other hand, Mad Bhaktaha, the ones who are my devotees, when Krishna says my, he is meaning as infinite Ishvara, worshippers of the infinite, which is what? Nishkama Bhakta, Jignyasu Bhakta, Mumukshuhu. As a Mumukshuhu, as a person desiring moksha, the person who worships the infinite Ishvara, what happens? Mam api yanti. They come to me alone. They get moksha. And here, Shankara makes a very nice point. He says that it is not that the Sakama Bhakta is putting in less effort or that Nishkama Bhakta is putting in more effort. He says the same effort is required in both the sadhanas. Kaika karma, Vachika karma, mantra chanting, dhyanam, study, meditation. The same number of hours are put in, the same amount of effort is put in. The only difference is what? There's a disparity in the results. Because the Sakama Bhaktas get finite results, the Nishkama Bhaktas get infinite results. So, in seeking this infinite moksha, also there is effort, right? You have to be committed to jnanam. You have to come to class week after week. Throughout the week, you have to meditate. You have to analyze what the class has said. You have to make notes. You have to understand. Do mananam. There's an effort there also. The same effort is there, which is being made by Sakama Bhakta. The effort is in a different direction. But the amount of effort, the amount of sacrifice of time and mental effort put in is the same. Shankara says that same effort which the Sakama Bhakta could have put into jnanam, into Nishkam Bhakti, that person has made the effort. But the problem is that his sankalpa is wrong because his effort, the result is samsara, the Nishkama Bhakta's effort, the result is moksha. So Shankara asks, when the effort you are making is the same, why are you making an effort for finite things? That same effort could get you infinite moksha also. And that is why Krishna says, Alpa Medhasa. He has not got Viveka Buddhi. He has not understood. He is of limited intellect. That is why he chooses Sakama Bhakti. Okay. Now we go to the next verse. We will chant verse number 24. Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam
Avyaktam
Avyaktam
Vyaktimapannam
Vyaktimapannam
Manyante Mama Buddhayaha
Manyante
Manyante
Mama Buddhaha
Buddhayaः
Param Bhavamajanantaha
Param
Param
Bhavam
Bhavamajanantः
Mamavyayam Anuttamam
Mama Vyayam
Mama Vyayam
Tamam
Uttamam
Mamavyayam Anuttamam
Mama
Ma Vyayam Tamam
Anuttamam
Right. Now, so earlier in this chapter, Krishna had pointed out that Ishvara has two aspects, Para Prakriti, which is the consciousness principle, Apara Prakriti, which is the matter principle. So Apara Prakriti is Jada Tattvam, Para Prakriti is Chetana Tattvam. And this Chetana Tattvam we say is the higher nature, Para Prakriti, and Jada Tattvam is the lower nature, which is the Apara Prakriti. And who are the ignorant people? The ignorant people see the Apara Prakriti, the lower nature, the form they see, the physical body of the Lord they see, and they mistake that physical body to be the higher nature, the real Ishvara. They don't understand that the physical body of Ishvara is Apara Prakriti, is Apara Prakriti only. But they take the physical body as Para Prakriti, the real Ishvara. What is the problem with the physical body? The physical body comes and goes. And therefore, they talk about Ishvara coming and going and giving darshanam and all that. And this you will find all over Puranas, that somebody is meditating, somebody is doing puja for 1,000 years, and then Ishvara comes and gives him darshan and then goes away. So all this is because of the mistake made in taking the physical form of Ishvara as the real Ishvara. Apara Prakriti has been mistaken for Para Prakriti. But as Vedantins, what should we understand? That the Para Prakriti aspect is the consciousness principle. It is the Chetana Tattvam, which is Swayam Prakashaha. It is evident all the time. It cannot come and go. Right? It is there everywhere, all pervading, evident all the time. Where is the question of coming and going? And therefore, anybody who talks about having been given darshanam by Ishvara is a abuddhaya, aviveki, the unintelligent people. So that is what is being said here. Avyakta vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhaya. Abuddhaya. So that mama buddhaya has to be carefully broken. It's not mam buddhaya, it's mam abuddhaya. Abuddhaya means the one without a buddhi. The unintelligent person, manyante, he mistakes what? He mistakes the physical body as the Lord. So he has got a misconception. That is why he is abuddhaya, unintelligent. What do they say? Avyaktam. They say the Lord has become avyakta, has become disappeared. And they say vyaktima, vyaktima pannam. The Lord has now come again, has appeared again. So Krishna himself is saying, right? So there should not be a confusion. So Shankara says the meaning of avyaktam can be taken as a prakasham, a prameyam, that which cannot be known as the object. Why is that so? because the real Ishvara is aprameyam. Consciousness principle is aprameyam because you are the consciousness principle. You, the subject, can never be the prameyam, the object. Okay, that's one way of understanding. Another way of understanding is in terms of the Vedantic interpretation of Vritti Jnanam and Swarupa Jnanam. So I hope you remember this. We have talked about this in the past also. Vritti Jnanam is knowledge which is dependent on the vritti, on the thought. The thought is always about an object. Therefore, the glass knowledge is vritti jnanam. Because what happens is the mind flows out, envelops the glass, creating a glass vritti, and that glass vritti is pervaded by the consciousness principle, the swarupam jnanam, and therefore the glass vritti becomes glass jnanam. So this has been talked about earlier also. It's the methodology of perception in Vedanta. Whenever you perceive an object, the mind flows out through the eyes, envelops the object. The mind is inert. It's not conscious. It is anatma. Therefore, the thought which envelops that glass, it creates the form of the thought in the mind. Here, remember, we are talking about the fact that inert mind has flown out, has come out through the eyes, enveloped the glass, and now there is an image of the glass in the inert mind. Okay, so knowledge has not begun. Then consciousness, Swarupa Jnanam, flows out into the vritti, into the thought, and pervades the thought, and therefore that glass thought becomes glass knowledge. I hope you guys are clear about this because we have talked about this many times. It's a fundamental principle, right? So here, that is why he is saying that this Swarupa Jnanam is always present. This consciousness principle is always present. It need not be associated with some object. Only when it is associated with an object, in this case, the body of the Lord, then can it be said to be vritti jnanam. So the body comes and the body goes. But if there is no object at all, the consciousness principle is not lost. It is still there. It cannot be perceived because it is you yourself. And that is why it is called aparoksha jnana. Right. So this person who doesn't know this, he takes the body of the Lord as the real Lord, and therefore he says, avyaktam vyaktimapannam. The Lord comes and the Lord goes. So in all the Puranas, you'll find this. A devotee performs tapas, then the Lord appears, gives a boon, then the Lord goes away. But our understanding is what? Whenever Lord appears and goes away, it is the lower nature also only. Physical Ishvara is always finite because it comes and goes. And therefore he says, ajanantaha param bhavam. Such a person, param bhavam, my higher nature, ajanantaha. He does not know. What is my higher nature? It is consciousness principle, Chaitanya Swarupam, which is there all the time. And even now, since you are listening to the class, remember that you are able to listen to this class, understand every word only because of that consciousness principle alone. Because of the consciousness principle, you are conscious of the first word, second word, and the sentence. And you are also conscious of the breaks or silence between the words. Therefore, whether you have thoughts or no thoughts, whether there are sounds or no sounds, whether there are forms or no forms, consciousness is always there. All thoughts, all sounds, all forms, they all appear in consciousness, that all-pervading eternal consciousness which you are. And that is referred to as Param Bhavam. That Satchita Ananda Swarupa, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Ajanantaha, they do not know. And why don't they know? Because avyayam. It is never subject to change. Nirvikaram. So those of you who are familiar with Sanskrit, I should point out that there are two words. Avyayam is one word, and there is another word which is flows in pronunciation. Avayavam, avayava, avayavam. Avyayam, avayavam. Avyayam means never subject to change. Nirvikaram. Avayava is part, is a part of. So don't confuse it. It is avyayam, not avayavam. Avayavam means with parts. Avyayam means not subject to change at all. And therefore only, nirvikaram, therefore only, anuttamam. Anuttamam is the highest. The highest form of mind, the para prakriti, only the nishkama bhakta can understand. The sakam bhakta can never understand. And the question can come, what is the difference between sakama bhakta and nishkama bhakta? The difference is that sakama bhakta does not know the higher form. And what is the reason for the ignorance? To know that, we have to go to the next verse, which we will chant. Verse number 25. Let us chant. Naham prakasha sarvasya
नाहं प्रकाश
सर्वस्य
सर्वस्य
yoga maya samavratah
योगमाया
योगमाया
समावृतः
mudhoyam nabhijanati
मूढोऽयं
नाभिजानाति
नाभिजानाति
loko mamajam avyayam
लोको
मामजमव्ययम्
मामजमाय अव्ययम्.
Okay. So, what is the reason? So he says, you look at Sakama Bhaktas, right? In fact, you look at any groups traveling to Kailasha, traveling all these places they want to travel, right? There's a lot of Tirtha Yatras which go on. Why is this? Because there is a confusion saying that I have to travel to reach God. So I go for Char Dham Yatra. I'll say that before I die, I must see all the 12 Jyotirlingas. So all these travels I do, right? And even, and to top it all, like I do puja. I do some Nachiketa puja or something. Even when I die, I want to go in to say Vaikunta or Kailasha or Devaloka. All these confusions are there. Why? Because Krishna says that there is something called Maya. So Krishna admits here, saying that Maya is what confuses people, because that is the nature of Maya, and Maya is no different from me. So you can actually say that I confuse the people. But I also have another aspect, the Jnanam part, which can make this confusion go away. And what is this Maya Shakti? It has got three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And each has a particular role to play. Sattva has what? It's got the role to play of knowledge. So Vidya it is. Tamas is what? Avidya. Sattva can be called Vidya Maya, because it gives knowledge. Tamas can be called Avidya Maya because it has Avarna Shakti. It can cover your knowledge of the truth. And Avarna Shakti can be overcome only by one method. What is that? A Mahavakyam. You have to study scriptures. That is the only way, and that scripture will give you aparoksha jnanam. That aparoksha jnana Mahavakyam alone can destroy Avarna Shakti. So, as here he says, Yoga Maya Samavrataha. Okay. So here Yoga Maya is what? Is Avidya Maya. That Maya which is predominantly Tamoguna, which is Tamoguna Pradhana Maya, and therefore it exercises its nature of covering. Avarna Shakti is there. Because of the Avarna Shakti, Mudaha, all the people in the world are deluded, right? They are stuck in Apara Prakriti. And because of the Mudaha, because of that, the Mudaha, because he is so deluded, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. Aham Sarvasya na prakashaha. I am not recognizable by everybody. Aham, I. Sarvasya na prakashaha. Everybody cannot recognize me. So he's saying Nirguna Ishvara cannot be seen by everybody. But you should remember that it's not that, you should not, you take it that, only people who are laymen, they don't understand. If you remember, there are very great philosophers, very great Shastric scholars who have, there are Vishishta Advaitins, there are Dvaitins, and all these people, they are not Ajnanis. They are not Ajnanis in the sense of not Ajnanis about Shastram, because they know Mimamsa Shastram, they know Tarka Shastram, they know Vyakarana Shastram, and many of them have written very, very strong and powerful commentaries. And there are sub-commentaries and further sub-commentaries. All of them have studied Prasthana Trayam, and you will find that the same philosophers, they have concluded completely wrongly. What is that? They say there is no such thing as Nirguna Brahman at all. They say only Brahman can only be Saguna, and that Saguna Brahman only they call Narayana or Shiva or Mahavishnu. And they also say that if you look at Brahma Sutra, the ultimate Vedantic text, that Brahma Sutra only talks about Mahavishnu or Narayana. Right? So it's not that the person who is not conversant with Shastra is being talked about. He's talking about a person who has not understood the true import of Shastra, which is what? That Ishvara is Nirgunaha. And therefore Shankara says here, Ishvara can be seen only by my bhaktas, only by those who are qualified to see him. Why? Because most people, most bhaktas are interested only in a Ishvara with form. And therefore here Shankara gives a definition. He says this yoga maya samavrataha. So yoga has to be defined. What is the yoga? He says yoga has to be defined as gunanam yuktihi. Yoga means combination of three yogas, of three gunas, sattva, tamas, and rajas. Okay. And samavrataha. Samavrataha is two words, sam plus avrataha. Avrataha means covered up, veiled. Sam is the prefix sam. You have to, if you are breaking it up, you can say samyak avrataha. Samyak means totally. So samavratava is totally covered, totally veiled. By what? By the three gunas. And the three gunas are called Maya. So here, this Maya, three guna Atmika Maya. That is what is being referred to as Yoga Maya over here. And remember that, therefore, when you say Maya, it is really speaking three gunas. It's like Maya and three gunas are not different. Any matter which is Maya has three gunas. And therefore, when you say Maya, when you say Anatma, when you say three gunas, really speaking, you are using only different sets of words for the same idea, which is three gunas. And because of three gunas, which is very attractive, samavrataha, completely covered. Okay, now the question is samavrataha, samavrataha. What is covered? That's a very good question, right? So somebody raises a question. What exactly is covered? When Yoga Maya Samavrata, that Yoga Maya, the three gunas, what do? They cover it. What is the it? The question here is it Atma? Do you mean to say that Yoga Maya covers Atma? What is the answer to that?
Covers Jnanam.
Well, if it was Atma covering, then what is the answer?
No, I said it covers Jnanam.
No, we'll come to that. Not really Jnanam, but we'll come to that. So if Atma is covered, what is the difficulty? If you are saying that Yogamaya covers Atma, what would be the difference?
Infinite,
Then your consciousness principle has gone.
Then you wouldn't know.
Correct. Your conscious principle is no longer there, and therefore the world is no longer there for you. If the consciousness principle is not there, the senses don't function. They cannot carry out their functions. And therefore, if Atma, Chit, consciousness principle, is obstructed by Yogamaya, then nothing will be perceived. Why? Because the mind itself functions on the basis of what? On the basis of reflected consciousness. You must remember the Tattvabodha, RC. And therefore, if there is a sun and there are 20 mirrors reflecting the sun, and you are saying that the sun is obstructed, remember the reflection also disappears. Therefore, any awareness is possible only because Atma is not covered. The consciousness is never obstructed because it is all pervading. And in fact, it pervades even the object which is trying to cover. And therefore, consciousness is never covered. Then what is it? Then now you look at the second line, the word loka. Okay. Now loka has a definition, which is a very pertinent definition. Lokyate anena iti lokaha. Lokyate means that which is perceived. So that by which something is perceived. Lokyate anena. That by which something is perceived. Iti lokaha. The very word loka here means it is that entity because of which something is being seen, something is being perceived. So lokan here means seeing and perceiving. Okay. Now, when you say something is perceived, something is seen, loka, you're seeing something. Let us say you're seeing the moon. Okay. Now, who is doing the seeing? Atma or Pramata?
Both.
Okay, somebody said
The
both.
witness.
No, I said very specifically. Witness is a very vague term. When you say, I am seeing, or when you say somebody is seeing the moon, who is seeing? What is the entity which is seeing?
The
The
consciousness
Atma,
principle.
consciousness principle.
The reflected,
the jiva.
Reflected.
the reflected consciousness of the mind.
When you see something, what are you have to analyze this way. When you see something, what are the instruments which are involved?
The eyes,
Eyes, then
the mind.
the mind. Okay, instrument. Eye, chakshuhu, and manasa is involved. Does Atma have either of them?
No.
Then how can you say Atma sees? Okay.
No.
This is how you do mananam. When you say that Atma sees, you have to immediately say, okay, Atma sees through what? Eyes, and after seeing it is recognized by the mind. And Atma has neither of them. Therefore, you cannot say that Atma sees. The Atma Chaitanyam cannot see. Who is seeing?
The Jiva.
The Jiva.
The jiva.
Jiva
The
has
reflected
eyes.
consciousness.
Yes. Jiva has eyes, Jiva has mind, and therefore Jiva is seeing. Therefore, there are two Chaitanyams which you can think of whenever we have these discussions. One is Atma Chaitanyam and one is the Pramatra Chaitanyam. Pramatra Chaitanyam is the Jiva. The Pramatra Chaitanyam is the Atma Chaitanyam in association with the object. What is the object here? The object is what?
The moon.
Anybody else?
Eyes and mind.
Eyes and mind.
Huh.
Right? Sukshma Shariram and the Golakams. Therefore, the Pramatra Chaitanyam is the Atma Chaitanyam, but conditioned by the body-mind complex. That's called a Pramatra Chaitanyam. Pramata is the knower. Pramatra Chaitanyam is the knower consciousness that is always in association, always conditioned by the body-mind complex. That is what does seeing. Atma Chaitanyam cannot see. Atma has neither mind nor eyes. That is why it's called akarta. And therefore, here when you say lokaha, you are not talking about Atma Chaitanyam. You are talking about Pramatra Chaitanyam, right? And therefore, the nature of Atma is covered. When you say Samavrataha, you are saying Atma is covered from the viewpoint of the Pramatra. Do you understand? From Pramatra Drishti only, you can say that Yoga Maya Samavrata. Do you know? No, that's very important answer. You have to understand it perfectly.
No, sir, I'm a bit confused. I'm sorry, my background is a little noisy. But when we spoke about the Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti, there we spoke that it is the consciousness which flows out to recognize an object.
What
Here we say
original
that
consciousness?
it's,
Original
pardon?
I said
Pardon,
it
sir?
is the mind which flows out. I didn't say consciousness.
Okay, but we need the consciousness also to recognize
Correct. Now,
an
what
object.
consciousness is that? Is it the original consciousness?
Reflected.
It is always reflected.
Yes, always ours.
Because
Okay.
the other consciousness is always there. The
Yes.
Swarupa,
Yes.
Swarupa Jnanam, the original consciousness, you cannot say it flows or moves. It's always there.
Right.
What
Right.
moves is only the reflecting medium. And because of the movement of the reflecting medium, you will use the
Right.
words that the RC moves. RC doesn't move. Okay? You are using the word because RM moves. And
Right.
that is why from the Pramatra Drishti, from the viewpoint of the knower consciousness, you can say that the original consciousness is covered. You cannot say original consciousness is covered full stop. Because if original consciousness was covered, the Pramatra would not have a Drishti at all. But from the viewpoint of the knower, it seems as if the original, the OC is covered because he is not able to recognize that. Right? Why is he not able to recognize that? Because of the RM. The RM is always Maya, beautiful, Sparsha, Rupam, Rasa, Gandha, everything is there. It's always very attractive to look at. Apara Prakriti is always extremely attractive. That is why Maya, whenever the Puranas talk about it, Maya is represented as a beautiful girl because Mohini, the one who clouds her intellect. So Yoga Maya Samavrataha means it is that Triguna Maya which is part of Apara Prakriti. And this Maya is always Mohini. It always brings in Moha. Wow, that is Mohini is who? Mohini is the one who puts you under Moha, under delusion. And therefore, the intellect is clouded. Because of that clouding of the intellect, not because Atma is clouded, because the intellect is clouded. It is like you are not being able to see the sun, not because the sun is not there, but because you've got cataract. And that the defect lies in the pramata, not in Atma Chaitanyam. And that is why he says, Aham na sarvasya prakasaha. Because of that cataract in your eye, you are not able to see me. A higher nature is not evident to you, and therefore only mudaha. Right? Mudaha is because you're not interested in the Nirguna Ishvara. And therefore, if you require Nirguna Ishvara, you require Viveka Shakti. Okay, this is not a new idea. Remember, we saw it some days back also, where verse number 13, same chapter. What does the verse say? Tribhir gunai mayed bhavaihi ebis sarvavidam jagat mohitam nabijanati mamebhya paramavyayam. Same idea was put forward earlier also. You are so fascinated with the beautiful girl called the Triguna Maya, Apara Prakriti. You are so fascinated with that you miss the Para Prakriti, that you miss the consciousness principle itself. And that is why he says, I am Loka Modaha. The whole world is distracted by Maya. They miss Apara Prakriti, which is the actual source of peace. The person who is blinded by Maya, blinded by material things in life, by Sakama Bhakti, he does not understand that there is no point in running after external pleasures, because everything that you need is already within you. And therefore Krishna says, na abhijanati. He does not recognize the fact that Purnatvam is his own nature. He does not recognize at all. Because most people, they think of Ishvara as a second party, a third party, whatever. Not the same as myself, different from me. And which is very strange, right? Because when Vedanta tells you that the entire universe is located where? Is located in Ishvara only. If the whole universe is located in Ishvara, you are also located in Ishvara, right? Even if you want to say that you are finite, you are still located in Ishvara, but you are that Ishvara, right? And when you talk about yourself, you need not say that my name is so and so, I was born in so and so, and I am 5 feet tall, and I am 6 feet tall. You need not say it. All you have to say is, I am. What does that mean? I am all there is. I am consciousness principle itself, right? Okay. Now, why is this so? This is so because there's a very important point here. Why do people commit a mistake? They commit a mistake because they have partial knowledge. And that's extremely important point, because somebody who has no knowledge at all, he cannot commit the mistake, right? For example, when you take the example of the snake and the rope, if you do not have at least a partial or a dim view of the rope, some dim light is there, you can see something is lying on the road, which looks like a snake. Actually, it is the rope, and therefore you must have at least a limited view of the rope. Incomplete view, but limited view. Some knowledge has to be there. If there is total darkness, you will not mistake the rope for the snake because you cannot see the rope. If there is total light, you will not mistake the rope for the snake. But it's only the absence of partial knowledge. I mean, absence of, in the presence of partial knowledge, absence of complete knowledge. You know something is there, but you don't know it's a rope. And therefore, partial knowledge is necessary to make a mistake. And hence, Atma is always known, right? If Atma was not known, you would not say that I am an Atma. Atma is partially known. You don't really understand what that I am Atma, not the Anatma. Okay, again we'll come back to that two forms of knowledge, Swarupa Jnanam and Vritti Jnanam. Swarupa Jnanam is what? Pure consciousness, OC. Vritti Jnanam is what? Reflected consciousness, reflected of an object. And as we saw, Swarupa Jnanam, the Atma, the OC, can never be obstructed. Therefore, any obstruction that has to happen, happens where? Happens in Vritti Jnanam only. Where does Vritti Jnanam take place? In the Buddhi. And what happens in the Buddhi? Confusion. Why is the confusion? Yoga Maya. And therefore the problem is in the Buddhi only. The cognition, the recognition of the Atma and the Buddhi is not correct because of confusion. Right? And how do I understand, or how do I see the Atma and my Buddhi? Whenever, for example, let's take an example. When you say this is a watch, you say this is a watch, okay? What is being said? This is the watch. So I am the speaker and there is a watch. I am the subject and the watch is the object. The question being asked here is it possible to say this is the Atma? In the same way that I say this is the watch, is it possible to say this is the Atma? What is the answer to that question?
No, because Atma has no Swarup. It has no.
That is the wrong answer. Anybody else? What is the right answer to the question? It is not possible to say this is the Atma?
Because this is not object.
See, in spite of
Cannot perceive it.
in spite of so many years of studying, you're not able to get the correct answer.
It's aprameya, all pervading. So how can I say that this is Atma?
If you say
It
this
is
is
not,
the Atma,
It always is.
it
Is
is
Anything.
not of
limit.
Satchidananda Swarupa.
Ambarish, please come again.
It is not Satchidananda Swarupa.
Okay.
It is,
Anybody else?
or in other words, there is existence but no consciousness.
It is limited, it is physical, it is
No. The question, don't misunderstand the question. The
Acharya
question
ji,
is-
I think because myself, we are the self Atma, then we cannot differentiate that this is Atma and that is Atma because we are the self itself Atma.
Excellent, Amit. So the point is that if you say this is the Atma, what is the question you have to ask yourself? Who is this? If I am saying who is the Atma, who am I? You as Atma cannot say this is the Atma. What can you say?
I am the Atma.
I am the Atma. And therefore, unlike saying this is a watch, where there is a subject and an object, when I say this is the Atma, there is no object at all. Because the subject is the object. This is what is called Atma-jnanam. Okay. So in any normal thought, there is duality. Subject, object. Pramata, prameyam. But when you talk about I am the Atma, there is this duality is not there. And in the absence of a duality, how to recognize is the question. So there is something called akhanda akara vritti, right? Normally, all pramanam, all vrittis can reveal only objects. And this words, the shabda pramanam, which we have of this shastram, they can create the thought which destroys ignorance. Okay. The whole theory is that shastram, the Mahavakyam, creates a particular thought which destroys the idea that you have that you are anatma. What is that thought? It tells you that you are Brahman or you are Atma. And that particular thought is called akhanda akara vritti. In this akhanda akara vritti, the speciality is that unlike other thoughts, which are this is a glass, this is a watch, etc., akhanda akara vritti is what I am Brahman. In that akhanda akara vritti, the speciality is that the subject-object differentiation is not there. There is no duality. That's why Krishna says here that as long as the mind is clouded by Maya, this akhanda akara vritti can never be generated. Okay. And therefore, you have to get out of the clutch of Maya. That's why whole Shastram talks about understanding what is Anatma first. Without dismissing Anatma, where is the question of coming to Atma? There is no question. Okay, another question can be raised over here. So Shankara raises this question in his Bhashyam. He says, if Yoga Maya is the cause of Ishvara not being known, is the cause of covering everything, will this Maya not cover Ishvara also, thus making him unknowable? It's a very good question. If Yoga Maya is the cause for covering everything and therefore it's the cause of covering Ishvara, right? That's why we don't see. But will this Yoga Maya not cover Ishvara himself, thus making him also not aware that he is Ishvara? That is the question. What is the answer to that? I'll repeat the question once again. Yoga Maya Samavrataha. Yoga Maya covers, from the Pramatra's viewpoint, it covers the higher nature, covers Ishvara. And therefore the Pramatra, the knower does not know Ishvara. But Shankara says, will this Yoga Maya not be strong enough to cover Ishvara himself? Will Ishvara also not become Ajnani?
Maya is the creation of
Ishvara.
Easwaran itself, himself.
Right. Very good. That's the answer. Shankara puts in a different way. He says, you look at a magic show, right? In a magic show, the magician is called Mayavi. So in a magic show, when you do magic, we use the same word Maya, but then That is not Trigunatmika Maya, that is the illusion. And that's why there's a confusion always. People talk about Maya and illusion. So Maya, illusion is the normal usage. Maya, Triguna Atmika is a different usage. So Shankara says, you think of Ishvara as the Mayavi, the magician. The magician uses the magic in the magic show. And the magic, deludes everybody, or the entire audience. The only one in the whole hall who knows that it is magic, it is an illusion, is who? Is the Mayavi only, right? And if you, as a member of the audience, when you see a particular magic show and you don't understand something, you are under the spell of that, right? Because you are not understood, you're confused. That confusion is what is being said is the spell. You are under the spell of that. What is the only way to break the spell?
Be the magician.
To become the
Resort to
magician.
Be the magician. So you know that I am the magician.
Anybody else? As an audience member of a particular, in a magic show, a member of the audience, supposing you have seen that magician cutting some girl into two, and then later on the girl comes out perfectly unharmed. So there is this confusion. You don't know how it happened. You are now under the spell of that Maya. What is the only way to break that?
Go to the
know how the
magician
trick is
himself.
done.
To see how the trick is performed.
So what Ambarish says is correct. You have to go to the magician and you have to say, please explain to me what is the trick. Right? This is exactly what is the role of Shastram. It tells you how Ishvara Mayavi, how he casts that spell. And once that spell, how it is cast, the modalities, the technique, the technology of the spell is known, it is not that illusion will go away. That whenever you see the show, the illusion will be there, but what goes away is the delusion, right? Illusion does not go. The confusion goes. And that is what Shastra does for you. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? All right. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate.
Om
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you
Om
for your
Tat Sat, Om
patience.
Namah
Thank you,
Shivaya.
Acharya ji.